On today's podcast, we are interviewing and talking with entrepreneur Gavin Secura as he discusses with us about building resilience, having mental toughness, and developing a game plan on starting up your part-time business until it becomes eventually, hopefully, a full-time business. Frame My Inc. podcast starts right about now. Get your mind right. Get your mind right. It's a frame of mind. Ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the Frame of Mind Inc. podcast. This is your boy Simbawi Nibaye Jr., aka TK, and it's another great Wednesday. Awesome to see you guys here. If you are listening live or viewing live, welcome. If you get the replay of this, awesome to have you here with us as well. You guys know how we do. We jump right in and get things started. But before we do, it is Affirmation Wednesday. So if you have your affirmations with you, or if you got them memorized, let's get these in and out the way. Get your tablet ready and all that stuff, because we are going to have an amazing, amazing day today. Are you ready? Here we go. Today will be a good day. Today will be a great day. Today will be an amazing day. Today will be an awesome day. Today will be a phenomenal day. Today will be stress-free. Today will be a stress-less day. Today, I will overcome all barriers that want to block my progress. Today, all circumstances, issues, and situations will line up and work in my favor. Today, I will become better than who and what I was yesterday. I am a go-getter. I am victorious. I am an overcomer. I never lose. I either win or I learn. I am triumphant. I take authority over this day. I will dominate this day. I will conquer this day. And everything I have spoken into this day will happen as I have affirmed, because I am more than a conqueror. Let's get it popping. So today, as I stated, we have a special guest with us today who is going to impart some more wisdom and knowledge and understanding to us. Before I bring him on the show, I'm going to read his bio real quick and we'll get the show started. So after generating various companies over $250 million in revenue and sales, and over a decade of political expertise during his corporate career, Gavin was made redundant overnight. Today, Gavin's mission is all about empowering entrepreneurs to safely transition into their own business without risking their current job or income. Gavin is the author of Break Free from Corporate, Be Your Own Boss, which has sold hundreds of copies in over 52 bookstores across the country. He also speaks at regular events and runs a couple of successful mentoring programs, helping everyday people build and implement their roadmap to freedom. Gavin enjoys exploring the great outdoors, spending quality time with family and friends, and staying fit through a healthy lifestyle through tennis and staying connected with his regular practice of karate. Y'all know what karate is, that hi-ya. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the Frame of Mind Inc. podcast, none other than Gavin Secura. Gavin, how are you?
Hey, nice to be with you, TK. It's a pleasure. And I'm coming across from Australia. So I'm on the other side of the planet over here. And yeah, it's really, really great to be on here. Awesome work that you do. And yeah, I'm excited.
He's on the Aussie, guys. On the Aussie. That's where he is.
Aussie.
Yes, sir. So, Gavin, we're going to just jump right in here. So I gave the people a brief overview of who you are, what you do, but tell the people who you are. Give us your backstory and some background on who Gavin is.
Right. So as you mentioned in the podcast, the bio, I'm someone who came from the corporate world, TK, and I worked for large companies like IBM and Oracle, had a great career in sales and marketing management. And I was fortunate to travel the world with those companies. So I went to the US, I traveled all around Asia and had a great team. And, us Aussies, we love to travel. So I found a job in a career that allowed me to do that. And it was fantastic. But it also got to a point where after about 10 years in that kind of environment, so I was in corporate for about 12 years. And towards the last 2 or 3 years, I really got burnt out. And what I mean by burnt out, my health started to suffer. I was working, 16, 18 hours a day. I kid you not. I was in airports, in lounges, hotel rooms. I was always on my laptop, always having to be here or there. And that's not an issue because that comes with the job. But it was the politics of the environment I was in. It was the infighting and backstabbing and all that goes on with as you get into senior management in some of these big companies. And it wasn't me. I wasn't really someone who was cut out for that because I genuinely like to do the best work I can do, and I love helping people succeed. But in that environment, I was only helping the company succeed. I wasn't really making a difference to anyone's lives. And this kind of got me down, spiritually got me down. It got me down mentally. My health started, like I said, to deteriorate, and I needed a way out, but I didn't know what to do because everyone around me was in a similar sort of corporate environment. All my friends, my family members, and I'd worked hard to get to this point. I had 2 degrees. I've got an MBA. I've got all these letters after my name, and I figured this was the path I had to go down. As Robert Kiyosaki says in Rich Dad, Poor Dad, there's the poor dad way of thinking: go to school, get good grades, go to college, get a good job, and just stay there and climb the corporate ladder. And that's what I was doing. But it wasn't really working out for me. So I needed to find a different path. And, thankfully, because of personal development, reading some good books, having some good mentors, going to some seminars, and just learning more about my values and what was important to me, I decided to try something different on the side. And I kind of built this up. And now I made this journey about 15 years ago. So that kind of shows my age. So I got out of corporate about 15 years ago. And the thing that pushed me out was, like you said, I was made redundant. And this was in 2007 during the global financial crisis. There was a lot going on in the world. And, this was a tough time for people because people were being laid off jobs. There was restructuring going on. It was just a lot of stuff. And I was given an option to stay with the company and keep a similar role, half the pay if I wanted to, because I was a top performer. But I decided, you know what, I'm gonna take this chance on myself, and I'm gonna try something different on the side and build it up. And I've never looked back. And that's kind of just a short backstory into how I got to where I am now.
Very interesting. I know Rich Dad, Poor Dad is a book that I've read as well. And we've referenced that on this show at times. So it's definitely a good read. It's just a little small plug-in. If you guys don't know, Robert Kiyosaki has a game out now. It's called Cash Flow. And that game will help you in, as they say, winning the game of life. It's a game, but it's a game that makes your mind think in a way that you never thought imaginable. I'm not going to give too much away. Just go look it up yourself. It's on Amazon and anywhere else you want to purchase it from. It's a game, and you can't play it in one day. Like, you've got to it can go on for days playing that particular game. So, Cash Flow. So getting back to your story, you talked about wanting to leave the corporate world and do your own thing. So I'm guessing that was the point in time where you decided I want to become an entrepreneur, correct?
Yeah. And, to be honest, TK, I didn't even really know what an entrepreneur was because, like I said, I came from a very traditional, work for someone else background. My parents did it. My friends did it. Everyone around me. I couldn't even name on one hand entrepreneurs that I knew personally. I couldn't do it. And so it was a really different challenge for me. And I had to find a group of people that thought the same as me, wouldn't judge me, people that could support me. So it was kind of lonely in the beginning. And I was trying to figure it out. Like, what was I good at? What was I passionate about? Where did I want to make a difference? What skills do I have to offer outside of my work? Because in my corporate environment, I was somebody. I had authority, I had leadership, I had a business card. People knew who I was, the brand that I worked for. When I stepped out of the office and I was trying to promote my own business, no one knew me. No one cared. No one returned my calls. It's a very different life. And so I had to figure all this stuff out from scratch. and it was challenging. But as they say, if you don't give up and you persevere and you believe in yourself and have good people and have faith, I was able to overcome that. I still have to go through that day to day because there's times when we get challenged, and I always say if you surround yourself with good people, you will get through it.
So let's talk about that, because you had to make the transition from being an employee to being an entrepreneur. But then to a degree, you were still an employee because you were the only employee who was who was doing your business. And that's a whole other topic right there in itself. So like, what were some of the challenges you faced from transitioning from being an employee to entrepreneur, and then setting up your own business, trying to figure out, well, what am I good at? What can I offer? And then, of course, you also stated that no one really knew who you were outside of your job because that's where everything was. How did that work out for you?
It's so funny you bring that up, because a lot of people I talk to these days, they often say, "Oh, I'm sick and tired of my boss, or I'm not, I don't like the culture in where I work, and I don't like the people I work with, and all of this kind of stuff." People say, right? When you get into your own business, suddenly you miss that, because you are everything. You are your boss. So if you don't like your boss, bad luck, because you are your boss. You can't fire your boss. And here's the kicker: you are your employee. You are employee number one. You are it. If you're not happy with yourself, you can't. You are either your best employee or your worst employee. And so you've got to start to respect yourself. You've got to not be too hard on yourself as well. You got to know where you're at and know where you want to get to, and then try and fill in the gaps over time. So if there's skills you need to learn, if there's things you need to start to read up on or listen to, or start to gain some information, you need to do it, because on day one, when you become an entrepreneur, you're wearing every hat. So you are the marketing guy, you're the sales guy, you're the product guy, you're everything, right? And you got to be the guy who opens the doors, who makes the phone calls. You're the IT department. Guess what? You got a problem? There's no HR. You are HR. So that's the challenge. The mindset is such a big thing you got to overcome when you go into your own business, because in the corporate world, you have all these resources around you. When you're your own boss, you have to kind of rely on yourself. You become resilient. You have to become resourceful. You have to build a team. You need to align yourself with other people who can help you with things that you're not good at. So these are things that I had to overcome over the first few years. And it's a big challenge, TK.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting because, when you start wearing all those hats, like you have the knowledge because you worked in corporate America, but then when you start doing it and you're everything, you kind of get overwhelmed. You're like, whoa, this is a lot to take on. You're like, I know about this stuff, but like, I have to do it all now. And so it can really be a big challenge mentally on you, as well as physically and everything else. So I'm glad you brought that up. Let's talk a little bit about, how, like you mentioned mindset. And so let's talk about the mindset you have to have in order to be an entrepreneur, be your own boss, be that number one employee, be HR, and be all those things, wear all those hats, and then still have, a willingness to be like, let's just say for a fact, you have a family, and I know, you do, I do as well. So how do you do all of that, still be a family man, still be a husband, still be a father, and whatever other hat you wear in life outside of your business, and find time for all that, and have the mental capacity to deal with all that, and kind of quote unquote balance it?
It's a great question. This is not the easiest one to answer either, because we're all busy people. As you know, TK, we wear multiple hats even before you ever consider to start a business or become an entrepreneur. So I guess at the end of the day, I'd put it down to this. You have to want to do this, because like anything, let's say you want to learn how to surf, or you want to learn how to ride a horse, or you want to play the guitar, or whatever you want to, you want to learn a new skill. You need to practice it. You need to research it. You need to find good teachers that will teach you. You need to surround yourself with people who are doing it, so you can kind of, you know where you're at, and you have someone that you aspire to become. So it's no different. If you want to start a business or become an entrepreneur, you need to hang around other entrepreneurs. You need to know other people that are in business or small business, right? You need to find a good coach or a mentor, someone who can teach you the ropes, because otherwise, where do you begin? And I see people every day going straight from corporate life. They open up a shop or they put all this money down, they buy something, they buy a franchise, they spend thousands of dollars on whatever it might be, and they think they can just go from here to there. And it's not that easy, because like I said, in corporate world, you actually haven't got it that tough, as if I can say that. It is still challenging because you still got to do your job, and there's lots of challenges around that. But you have all these resources. Someone has already taken the time to put those resources in place. If your laptop doesn't work, you can ring up IT. If you're not happy with a colleague or someone, does something bad, you can ring up HR. If you're running late, you can ring up your boss and go, look, I'm running 10 minutes late, or whatever it might be. You can call in sick. You cannot do any of those things when you're in your own business. It's challenging. On day one, you haven't got a team to do that. So getting to that mindset shift is the first thing that we teach people how to do when they're looking to get into business. Because if you haven't got that mindset, you're not going to succeed. Things are just going to fall down. The minute things get too tough, you're going to give up. I see 80 to 90% of new entrepreneurs, brand new entrepreneurs, fail in their first 12 months because things get too tough. They hit a roadblock. They get too many no's, not enough yeses. They're not making money in the first 6 months necessarily. It just seems too hard, and so they give up. And that's sort of a statistic I want to reverse. I want people who get into business to succeed. That's why I kind of grew this business, Break Free from Corporate, because I want people to live their best life. You've done it well in corporate, and if it's time to now move on, you don't jump ship. You start building this other ship from scratch. And when the time is right, you can transition smoothly. So you don't just quit your job and jump ship, because it's like going from the frying pan into the fire. You want to do it in a way that's safe, secure. You're not putting the house at risk. You're not putting your family's welfare at risk. And you're doing it in a nice way that enables you to succeed. And you do it at your own pace. You're not competing with anyone else. And you do it when it's right for you.
So I want to piggyback on that. Was another follow-up question. You mentioned not just jumping ship, quitting your job, and then starting that. Because if people are listening right now, it sounds like that's what you did. But there was a process, because for you had to make a decision, because you're like, okay, do I really want to keep doing this right now? And if not, I need to get out now and do something different. Right. And I don't know what all your details are as far as where you went from leaving that job to starting, your own business. But there's people out there who are like, well, I want to do the same thing, but how can I go from my corporate job to starting a business without necessarily quitting? And I cut off my income, and now I'm like, okay, how do I fund my business?
Great question. So here's the details, how I made that transition. So remember I said to you earlier, towards the last 2 or 3 years, I was mentally checking out of my job, right? I was sort of on the outer, my health was bad. There was just a lot of things. I was missing out on a lot of family events because I was traveling a lot. I was on the road a lot. And it was just work. My whole life was really given to the company. I was a company man. People were writing emails to me at like 2:00 in the morning and all that kind of stuff, because I work with different time zones. And I'm like, something's got to give. So I made a decision to start a business part-time on the side, very, very small. It was something I knew a friend was involved in. We kind of got it into together. We started building it. It was an online franchise, and we started making some money, not a lot, maybe like $1,000, $2,000 a month, and it certainly wasn't equal to my corporate income. But I'd started doing this at least 2 years prior to leaving my full-time job. Now, what happened, like I said, the universe gave me a push, right? It made me redundant in 2007, because that was when there was all these big layoffs and restructuring and things like that. And I was given an option at that point: stay in the company, half your pay and all of that, or, here's a check and see you later. And I decided, TK, I had a fledgling business already built. And I thought, even if I need to supplement that with another job, I don't need to go back into my corporate job. I can take up side gigs because I have skills in sales and marketing and all of that kind of thing. I would take up, every now and again, I'd take up a 3-month contract. I'd take up a 6-week contract. I'd take up a 6-month gig where I just went in, did a job, went out, came back, worked on my business. So it's okay to still work while you're building your business, but do you need to have that high-end corporate job? Not necessarily. So you can start something on the side and maybe get a few dollars. Even if you make $500 a month from your startup business, guess what? That can pay for your phone bill. It can pay for your electricity. It might help you towards, fuel in your car. It can start to pay a few expenses. Now you don't need that high-end corporate job. You might be able to do something for less pay, but less hours, and you can focus that time on your business on the side. And so it's about making the right choices that can help you to build that business, because eventually it's the business that's going to give you your freedom. It's not the job. The job's always going to be up here. The requirements will keep getting higher and higher. The stakes always rise. It's never enough, and you get to this point where you get burnt out, and that's not what you want.
Yeah, that's excellent advice and great advice. Just for me personally, that's kind of how things work for me, to where now I'm able to take on contract work that's in the field of my business. And so, I may not necessarily be working for myself, though I am. I'm doing contract work in my field and in my niche, where I'm not saying, well, I gotta go do this because I got to go do it because I need the money. Like, no, I can do this now in my field, and it doesn't feel like work. It feels like me still working my business,
right?
So So we'll take a little break. We're going to come back here with Gavin. He's going to drop some more knowledge on us. Hope you guys are taking notes with your tablets and your iPads and whatever else you got. Take a little quick break. We'll be right back. Frame of Mind Podcast. Are you looking for an apparel company that's positive, uplifting, and truly cares about you? Then look no further. Frame of Mind Inc., an apparel brand company, impresses on individuals to think positive thoughts, say positive things, and do positive deeds. Get positive apparel, such as t-shirts, hoodies, and wristbands for children, teens, and adults in various colors and sizes. Customized services include logo and t-shirt design, screen printing, and embroidery for individuals, families, schools, profit, and nonprofit organizations. You can reach Frame of Mind Inc. at 302-689-3499 or visit their website at www.frameofmindinc.com. Frame of Mind Inc. Think it, speak it, achieve it.
It's a frame of mind.
All right, welcome back. Before we left, we were talking with Gavin about all that he does with his company and his business now, going from corporate into starting a part-time business that now has become a full-time business. And he's been dropping some great nuggets on us. So we're going to continue that conversation right now. So we talked about, the transition from being an employee to being an entrepreneur, starting your own part-time business while you were still taking on other work, leaving your job, all the struggles that you had to get there, the challenges. Let's make a small transition into, we talked about mindset, and let's talk about, you mentioned earlier that it's a lonely journey when you're an entrepreneur, but it doesn't have to be lonely. But there are moments when it is lonely because it's when it's new to you, you kind of feel like you're doing everything, you have no help. And at times you feel like no one wants to help. But when you're doing that, if you don't believe in it, why should anybody else? So let's talk about like community, having people around you that are like-minded when it comes to being an entrepreneur, because it is a lonely journey, but it doesn't have to be done alone is what I say. Can you speak on that?
Yeah, totally. I think that's a really, really great point. And this is something I only really learned this through experience, because when I got to the point where I felt like, hey, am I the only one who thinks like this? Or am I the only one who's doing this? Is there something wrong with me? Like, what's happening? And I didn't realize I needed to associate with people that were like me or thought the same or felt the same, or I needed to find my tribe or my community. And it's no different, TK. Like if you go to church, you're in a group of people that believe the same things or think the same. You can support each other. If you play in a band, you know, everyone in the band kind of has the same kind of mindset. You know, if you play tennis or you play basketball or you know, even if you work in your corporate job right now, you are in an environment where everyone kind of shares some similar values, right? And I guess it's so important if you're going into business or you're going into become an entrepreneur, you need to find a group of people that are doing similar things. It doesn't have to be the same business. It can be anything, but you need to find people who are going through the same struggles, the same challenges. People who can say, yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, look, I tried this. Why don't you try that? Or, you know, how did you do that? And give you sharing the wins and you know, when things go bad, sharing or help you kind of deal with the challenges. And so you have this support community around you. Very, very, very important. Without which, you know, most communities just wouldn't survive. You know, you think about a lot of ethnic communities, you know, they kind of band together. Why? People speak the same language or they have similar values and cultures, and so they can help support each other. And it's no different if you're becoming an entrepreneur. We kind of speak the same language. We need to think in a certain way. And it kind of gives you a profound respect when you see a new business owner or you hear of a story of someone who has just started a business from home or from their garage, or, you know, you hear this story of, you know, someone who's made the transition and done something for themselves. You kind of go, hey, you know what? I get where that person came from. Like, you know, you hear of people's success, but you never hear the challenges they went through. But because you're an entrepreneur, you can respect and you can understand the challenges it took them, you know, to get to where they are. So the mindset is such an important thing, but the support around you is what helps you toughen that mindset and develop the skills to succeed, without which it's really hard.
I 1000% agree.
Yeah.
It's almost like, you know, like you said, your tribe. It's like a family, you know, like
Yeah.
you find your tribe, you find your family, you find the community. And the same questions you had, I'm like, you know, what's wrong with me? Why am I feeling like I'm the only person that's doing this? Why does no one want to help me? You know, why do I feel so alone? And mind you, you know, there's a portion of my business that my wife, you know, works with me on. But again, there was the businesses that I started, they were all me. And then she kind of jumped in a few years later, you know, when we got into our apparel stuff. So now, even then, it's like you're still in that vein of, oh my gosh, like I feel like I'm kind of alone here. So
Right.
I totally get that. And community is so important in any aspect of life, whether it's family, business, any relationship. Community is highly important. Let's stick with mindset here. Let's talk about mentorship and coaching, because there's a lot of people, I can't say a lot, but there's a good number of people out there who are, you know, I like to call them they're YouTube students, should I say.
Yes.
And nothing wrong with YouTube. But I've always said, and others have said too, that YouTube can only take you but so far. I'm like, if you really want to, you know, increase your learning, increase your knowledge, increase, you know, your mental capacity, you need to have a coach or a mentor. And that may cost you some money. Now, let's take the word cost out and let's insert the word invest.
Right.
You need to invest in a coach or mentor. Speak on that, about how important that is to your growth as an entrepreneur or just as a person in general.
Okay. Look, great point. So think of it this way. I do tennis and I do karate, and I love playing sport. Maybe you play sport as well. You can only watch so many YouTube videos on how to play tennis, right? You can only watch so many YouTube videos on how to do karate, right? Sure, you can read books, you can practice at home and do your own thing. But at some point, you're going to need to get out there and play with someone else, compete with someone else, spar with someone else. If I didn't have a mentor or a coach or belong to a school and have a teacher that could teach me, how am I ever going to get beyond just reading a book or watching a video? Put it another way, if you want to learn how to surf, okay, you can watch a video on how to surf. You get on the surfboard and you do this and you balance and all, but that can only get you so far. At some point, you're going to need to get in the water, get on the board. And you know what? It doesn't matter how many books you've read or how many YouTube videos you watch, the surf's going to knock you down. And then you go, whoa, this is a lot tougher than I thought. But if you have someone who can guide you and say, hey, listen, try this or try that, or keep your head down or do this, and that you need to physically do without, that you can't get from just a YouTube video. Do you know what I mean? And so important that we have good mentors and good coaches around us. And I'm talking real life, physical people around us that can guide us. Because number one, it's not a YouTube video that, you watch it and it's just going in one way, but there's no interaction. You're getting live feedback. You're getting live coaching, live help. When you went to school, you had a teacher who told you, hey, TK, do this for your homework, try this, come back, I'm going to grade you, let's see how you go. And then you've got other students in the class, you kind of know where you sit. And if you want to be the top student, you know who you're kind of competing against, and you kind of improve that way. If you just learn from home, you can do that, but you don't have that interaction with your teachers anymore. You don't have interaction with other students. You kind of feel isolated. So having good coaches and good mentors, really, really important in all aspects of your life, not just in being an entrepreneur. If you want to pick up new skills, if you want to learn something, if you want to get better at something, if you simply want to get better at life, sometimes it's good to talk to people who are living good lives. Hey, how did you do it? Sometimes I look at people who've been married for 50 years in our community. I love talking to people like that, because it's, tell me the secret to a happy life. How did you guys do it? And quite often, TK, they'll say the most basic things. They'll go, just have a lot of respect for each other and treat each other well, and make sure you always do the right thing. And it sounds very simplistic, but they can then break it down for you because they've done it. A good coach and a good mentor is someone who has done it, and you kind of go, you know what, I want to kind of be where you're at, so show me the way, show me the steps you took, maybe keep me accountable. And that's the value a coach and a mentor bring to you.
Absolutely. 1000% agree once again. So I've got two more questions for you before we kind of end this segment. So you talked about, mentors giving you steps to things, how to get there, how to do it. And I know you're very big on entrepreneurship and getting people to break free from corporate and to be an entrepreneur. Let's make no mistake. Nothing wrong with being in corporate America or corporate in general, corporate Aussie, corporate Europe, all that stuff. Nothing wrong with that. But when you have, you believe that you're built or made for more,
Right.
then you need to. This is where someone like Gavin comes in, says, hey, let me help you to get to where it is you're trying to go. That's outside of corporate. I've been there. I've done that. I know what it's like. Allow me to help you. What are just some things that entrepreneur needs to know as far as growing to become that person who is now the employee who wants to transition now to being an entrepreneur?
Yeah, so I guess, like you said, you need to want more in life. Like, you need to want to get to the next level. Some people are really happy where they're at, and that's great. Like I have some really awesome friends that are in corporate or work for someone else, and you know what? They love their life. And I think if you're happy where you're at, then that's great, because at the end of the day, we all want to be happy. We want to be fulfilled. We want to live good lives. So if you're there, then you kind of have it made. You've done it. But a lot of us, unfortunately, are not there. We're kind of yearning for something else. We're missing something. And I think you just need to find what that is. And so, in my case, I got to a point where I kind of loved my job in the beginning. I loved my career, and I was going through the corporate stages and the corporate ladder. And then I hit a point where it wasn't doing it for me. In fact, if anything, it was almost a detraction from me achieving my life goals, because I was missing out on other things I wanted to do. So you need to make a choice in your life. Where are you at? Where do you want to get to? Is going down the same path in your corporate career the right way for you? Can you see yourself spending the next 10, 20, 30 years in this environment? Is that going to do it for you? Are you going to feel like you will have regrets, when you get to the end of your life, and maybe go, you know what, I wish I tried that. I wish I'd done something different. And there's a great book, TK. It's called The Top Regrets of the Dying. I think it's the top 5 regrets of the dying. It's written by a lady called Bronnie Ware, W-A-R-E. And she talks about, she was a palliative nurse, and she used to work in a nursing home with old people. And just before they died, she would talk to them and she'd go, hey, listen, tell me, do you have you've lived a great life. Do you have any regrets, anything you wish you'd done? And you know what? They all said the same thing. And she put this in her book. And they all said, I wish I'd lived life more. I wish I'd tried new things. I wish I'd spent more time with family and friends. I wish I hadn't worked so hard at the office. I wish and so you think about this and bring it back to where you are now. We're all probably going to have those regrets if we keep going down the path where we're just, with our blinkers on, doing as we're told and not living our life, And so I always say to people, hey, if you're not happy, make a change, try something new, but do it in a safe way. So when I teach my clients, how to start a business from the beginning and from scratch, take it like you're learning a new skill. You're learning how to play the guitar, or you're learning how to swim, or you start small. You build up your skills, you build up your knowledge, you build up your support group around you, and then you get better and you get better. And then maybe you get a little bit more competitive in that. You want to learn some more. You want to try some new things. You want to invest in yourself a bit more, and you invest in your knowledge. You get a better coach, a better mentor. You start investing in technology, and before you know it, you've got this little platform that you've built on the side, and it's more than just a hobby. It becomes a passion of yours, and you keep working on it. Yeah. But you know what? Life changes, and you might go from this to something else in 6 months or 12 months, and that's okay. But you've started something now that will keep you going. And here's your corporate job, here's your business, and you never know. If you keep working on it, eventually it might get to a point where you can go, you know what? Thanks very much, corporate. You've been great. You helped me to get to this point. I only need you part-time now. I want to spend more time here because this gives me family life. This gives me choices. This gives me lifestyle. That's what I really want. And so, hey, it's never too late to do it, but the sooner you do it, the better, in my opinion.
Exactly. All great points. And me being a family man, family to me is highly important. Sure. I've always told people that, my life is my business and my business is my life. And I say that because everything that I do is for my family, but I also learn to separate the two when I need to. And I want to be there for my children when they have events, and I want to be there to be that father figure. And then, you can't make everything, but I do want to make a whole lot more than miss, of course. And so that does bring you about that freedom that you had to be able to be at those things. Gavin, one last thing, and not necessarily a question, but I just want you to just drop some general knowledge on our audience, just in general, whatever you feel needs to be said, whatever you want them to, if they don't remember anything else that was said in this podcast, you want them to remember this, drop that knowledge on them right now.
Okay, look, I'm going to share a really quick story with you. My business changed my life. Now, what do I mean by that? So about 3 years ago, I met my wife while traveling overseas. And this is pre-COVID times. And I was traveling all around Asia for 6 months because I could. And my wife was also traveling at the time. And we bumped into each other on my 6th month. So, if I didn't have a business, I couldn't have traveled for 6 months. It's not possible. Most people can only take a couple of weeks, maybe 2 or 3 or 4 weeks. By me setting myself up the way I had, I could work from anywhere in the world. I was able to travel and work and grow my business, and it enabled me to meet my wife. And I was able to move states here in Australia from the East Coast. Now I live in beautiful South Australia in the country, and we live a really beautiful life. And I still can grow my business from anywhere in the world. And the fact that you and I are talking, from other ends of the world, this is what I set myself up to do. And you can do the same thing. And I did this not because I necessarily wanted to earn more money. I wanted the lifestyle. And, at the end of the day, you got to decide, what is it you really want in life? If you set the goals now and you work towards it, you just never know where it's going to take you. For me, I wouldn't have met my wife. I wouldn't be living where I'm living now. I certainly wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. I wouldn't even be talking to you, TK, if, 15 years ago, I hadn't made the decision to make the transition, learn some new skills, meet some great people, get some good mentors, like you talked about, change my mindset. I have to work on this every single day, right? And even talking to you and listening to those affirmations, it's kind of given me a boost because it's my morning over here. I know it's your evening, but I feel alive listening to those affirmations once again. And, so you're part of my community, you're part of my similar people mindset, right? And so listening to you is what inspires me. And so I encourage all your listeners, listen to the stuff TK is putting out. He's putting out some good stuff, and find people that can be your tribe. Find people that kind of can identify with your values and what you believe in, and set your goals and keep working at it one step at a time. If you get stuck, find a good mentor, find a good coach to help you get through the challenges. Hey, if Olympians can get a coach and a mentor and they're the best in the world, why can't we? Right? So maybe I'll leave you with that, and good luck on your journey.
Awesome, Darryl. Ladies and gentlemen, Gavin Sequeira. Said it correctly, right? Sequeira, is that correct? I said it correctly.
Sequeira. And listen,
Sequeira.
I had a ball. Thank you so much for having me on your show. And if anyone wants to check out, I've got a free gift for your audience as well. If they just want to download a quick ebook, it's called The 8 Bulletproof Ways to Escape Your 9-to-5 Without Risking Your Income. I'll give you the link and you can go check it out. It's free. It'll take you 15 minutes to read. It could change your life. But hey, that's my gift to you.
Awesome. Yeah. So along with that, tell them where they can contact you, or if there's social media or website or whatever. Give them that before we go as well. Yeah,
totally, man. Gavin Sequeira is easy to look up. I'm on LinkedIn because I work with a lot of corporate people and people that work in that environment. LinkedIn is a great platform. Or you can look up Break Free from Corporate, like you. I've got my merch as well, but for me, that's not the big thing. But I'm really proud of my business because it's me, it's my brand. I love to shout it out from the rooftop. So breakfreefromcorporate.com is where you'll find me. And I got books and I got webinars, I got ebooks, I got lots of good stuff you can just grab. And if you want to have a chat, just drop me a message. I'm very approachable. I'm always happy to have just a 10-minute chat that can just set you on the right path. And we've got a team that can look after you. We have programs, we have all of that. But at the end of the day, just reach out, and hopefully we can give you some tips and help you on your way.
Awesome stuff. And for all of you who are listening, if you're viewing the video here, we'll also have all the information in the details of the podcast. So if you missed anything, just go back to the podcast, get the information from the details, and you guys will be good to go. I will say this. I did get my copy of your ebook, so I'm going to look at that as well because I was like, anything. Listen, no matter how far you get in life,
right,
you always have to some degree remain a student. You have to remain a student. You can't say I've made it, I got there. And real quick before we go, I had an uncle of mine respond to a Facebook post that I made about physical success, habits or whatever. He said, I'm still taking notes, nephew. I said, always are. Awesome. Always are taking notes. You never stop. So, Gavin, thank you for joining us. It was a pleasure having you. Great tips, great knowledge. Best to you. Hopefully, it's not our last time meeting. I would definitely be hooking up with you on LinkedIn as well. And thank you for joining us today. And for all of you who are joining us here on the Frame of Mind Inc. podcast, continue to think it, speak it, and achieve it. And as always, until next time, I holla. Thank you for joining the Frame of Mind Inc. podcast. And as always, here at Frame of Mind Inc., think positive thoughts, say positive things, and do positive deeds. As our tagline says, think it, speak it, achieve it. See you next time.
It's a frame of mind. It's what you say and what you do.
Don't forget to check us out on the web at www.frameofmindinc.com, where you can browse our online apparel store, listen to some of our original music and production services, as well as view our videos and projects we've done for our clients and customers.